You wake up in the morning with intentions, good intentions. You say you want more money, better health, deeper focus, a stronger mind. But before your feet hit the floor, you reach for a glowing rectangle. Notifications, messages, news, other people's emergencies, other people's opinions, other people's agendas. And without realizing it, you have surrendered the first hour of your day, the most powerful hour, to the chaos of the world. You think you're just checking something. You're not. You are training your mind to scatter. Distraction is not an accident. It is an environment. And environments shape behavior far more powerfully than motivation ever will. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And if your system is built around interruption, you will live an interrupted life. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Distraction is not just about productivity, it is about identity. Every time you allow yourself to be pulled away from what matters, you are reinforcing a belief. I am someone who cannot hold focus. And beliefs, once repeated, become personality. Personality becomes destiny. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Think about that. An emperor surrounded by war, politics, betrayal, and his greatest concern was not invasion, but inner chaos. He knew that the real battlefield was attention. Attention is your life force. Where your attention goes, your life follows. If your attention is scattered across trivialities, your life becomes trivial. If your attention is disciplined toward what is meaningful, your life becomes powerful. So, how do you cut distractions off at the source? First, you must understand that distractions are not random. They are engineered. Social media platforms are built by teams of psychologists and behavioral scientists. Their business model is not your growth, it is your attention. The longer you stay, the more they win. And every time you say, "just 5 minutes," you are negotiating with a system designed to outthink you. This is not about demonizing technology. It is about recognizing leverage. If something is stronger than your willpower, you do not fight it with willpower. You redesign your environment, remove the apps, turn off non-essential notifications, put your phone in another room when you work, create friction between you and distraction. You see, human beings take the path of least resistance. If distraction is easy and focus is hard, you will be distracted. If focus is easy and distraction is hard, you will focus. It is that simple. Discipline is not about being superhuman, it is about being strategic. But there is something even more subtle we need to confront. You are not just distracted by devices, you are distracted by emotions. When work becomes uncomfortable, you reach for relief. When a task feels uncertain, you seek escape. Distraction is often emotional avoidance in disguise. You scroll not because you are bored, but because you are afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of not being good enough, afraid of confronting the gap between where you are and where you want to be. So you numb it. 5 minutes becomes 50, a day becomes a week, a year becomes a regret. The Stoics called this weakness of will akrasia, knowing what is right but doing what is easy. And the cure was not guilt, it was awareness. To pause and ask, what am I avoiding right now? If you want to cut distraction at the source, you must develop the courage to sit with discomfort. Focus is not about intensity. It is about tolerance. The tolerance for boredom, the tolerance for silence, the tolerance for slow progress. Modern society has trained you to crave stimulation, fast clips, quick hits, endless novelty. But mastery requires monotony. The craftsman repeats the same movement thousands of times. The writer stares at the blank page. The investor studies numbers that most people find dull. Greatness grows in quiet rooms, and that quiet is where most people run. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Sometimes you don't cut distractions because they protect your ego. If you never fully focus, you never fully try. And if you never fully try, you never have to confront your true limits. Distraction becomes a shield. I could have done more, but I was busy. Busy is the modern alibi for mediocrity. Jim Rohn said, "Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better." Cutting distractions is not about making life easier. It is about becoming stronger. strong enough to face the work without escape routes. So you must ask yourself a ruthless question. What in my life is stealing my future? Is it late nights wasted on meaningless entertainment? Is it conversations that go nowhere? Is it environments that reward gossip over growth? You cannot become exceptional in a culture of constant interruption. You must create boundaries, and boundaries will feel lonely at first. When you say no to distractions, you are also saying no to certain social dynamics. You will respond slower. You will engage less in trivial debates. You will disappear from noise. Some people will call you distant. Let them. You are not here to be available to everyone. You are here to build something meaningful. And building requires depth. Depth requires time. Time requires protection. Think of your attention like a garden. If you do not guard it, weeds will grow. You cannot plant ambition in soil crowded with triviality. You must pull the weeds daily, not once, not when you feel like it, daily. But here is where most people fail. They try to change everything at once. They declare war on all distractions, and within a week, they collapse. Why? Because they relied on motivation instead of structure. Start smaller. Choose one sacred hour per day. 1 hour where there is no phone, no internet, no interruptions. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. In that hour, do the most important thing, not the urgent thing, the important thing. Over time, that hour becomes 2. 2 becomes 3. And suddenly you have reclaimed control. But there is another layer we must uncover. Your mind itself can be a distraction. Overthinking, replaying conversations, imagining worst-case scenarios. Mental noise can be as destructive as digital noise. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, imagining loss, not to dwell in fear, but to sharpen gratitude and clarity. They train their minds to focus on what is within their control. You must do the same. Write down your worries, define them. Most distractions shrink when exposed to clarity. Vague anxiety drives scattered behavior. Specific plans drive focused action. And then there is energy. You cannot focus if you are exhausted. Sleep deprivation masquerades as distraction. Poor nutrition masquerades as lack of discipline. A weak body produces a weak attention span. If you treat your body carelessly, your mind will follow. High performers guard sleep like treasure. They exercise not just for appearance, but for mental sharpness. They understand that clarity is physical, but there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Some distractions are people, not because they are evil, but because they are comfortable. Friends who don't challenge you, colleagues who normalize mediocrity, conversations that revolve around complaints instead of solutions. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If they are constantly distracted, you will be too. Environment is contagious. This does not mean you abandon everyone. It means you become selective. Seek conversations that sharpen you. Seek relationships that respect focus. Protect your standards. And understand this, when you raise your standards, some relationships will fall away. That is not loss. That is alignment. Now let me tell you something practical and ruthless. Track your time for 1 week, every hour. Write down what you actually did, not what you think you did, what you did. The truth is uncomfortable. You will see hours dissolved into fragments. You will see how often you check your phone, how often you drift. And awareness precedes change. Once you see the leak, you can fix it. But don't stop there. Define your top 3 priorities for the next 90 days. Not 10, not 20. 3. If everything is important, nothing is. Clarity eliminates distraction because it answers the question, what should I be doing right now? When you know your priority, distraction feels like betrayal. And yet, even with clarity, the mind will wander. So build rituals. Start your work at the same time every day. Use the same location. Play the same instrumental music if it helps. Ritual reduces decision fatigue. When your brain recognizes a pattern, it shifts into focus more easily. Discipline becomes automatic. But there is a final, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Distraction is seductive because it offers immediate reward. Focus offers delayed reward, and we live in a culture addicted to immediacy. If you cannot delay gratification, you cannot build anything lasting. The farmer does not harvest the day after planting. The investor does not compound wealth overnight. The bodybuilder does not gain strength in a week. Everything meaningful compounds slowly. When you choose focus, you are choosing the long game. You are choosing to be misunderstood today so you can be respected tomorrow. And that choice requires identity. You must start seeing yourself as someone who protects their attention, not occasionally, not when convenient, always. Identity drives behavior more than goals ever will. Say to yourself, I am not easily distracted, and then act accordingly. When temptation appears, pause, breathe. Ask, does this serve my future? If not, let it pass. Urges rise and fall like waves. You do not have to ride every one. The more you resist, the stronger you become, and eventually something remarkable happens. Silence stops feeling uncomfortable. Boredom becomes fertile. Focus becomes addictive. You begin to experience what psychologists call flow, total immersion in meaningful work. Time dissolves, output increases, satisfaction deepens. This is the state where greatness is built, but it only comes to those who cut distraction at the source, not at the symptom, at the source, which means you must redesign your life, not just your to-do list. You must create a workspace that signals seriousness. You must communicate boundaries clearly. You must decide that your dreams deserve undivided attention. Because here's the brutal truth. No one else will guard your focus for you. The world benefits from your distraction. It profits from your scrolling. It thrives on your divided mind. Only you benefit from your discipline. So tonight before you sleep, make a decision. Choose one distraction that has been stealing your time. Eliminate it or reduce it dramatically. Feel the discomfort, feel the withdrawal, and understand that what you are feeling is not loss, it is growth. You are reclaiming territory. You are declaring that your attention is not for sale, and when you wake up tomorrow, begin again. Protect the first hour. Do the hard thing first. Embrace the silence, because you don't have a time problem, you have a distraction problem. And if you don't solve it, your life will slowly be negotiated away by things that do not matter. When you cut off one source, another appears. That is because the ultimate source of distraction is not your phone, not your environment, not even other people. It is an undisciplined mind combined with an undefined purpose. If your purpose is weak, everything will distract you. If your purpose is strong, almost nothing will. Most people do not lack focus. They lack a compelling reason to focus. They say they want success, but they have not defined what success actually demands of them. They want wealth, but they have not calculated the cost. They want respect, but they are unwilling to endure solitude. So the mind wanders. You cannot cut distractions permanently until you attach your focus to something larger than comfort. Jim Rohn used to remind people, when the why is strong, the how becomes easy. That applies to attention as much as effort. If your why is vague, your attention will be weak. If your why is precise, your attention becomes guarded. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Sometimes distraction is rebellion. When you work on goals that are not truly yours, goals inherited from parents, society, comparison, or ego, your mind resists. You procrastinate not because you are lazy, but because your spirit is unconvinced. There is internal misalignment. You must ask yourself, with brutal honesty, is this the life I actually want, or am I chasing an image? If your path is authentic, discipline feels heavy, but meaningful. If your path is borrowed, discipline feels suffocating. Clarity eliminates half of distraction. Now let's talk about something even more subtle. Your self-image sets the ceiling of your focus. If deep down you believe you are average, you will sabotage extraordinary concentration. You will drift the moment things become demanding, because focus requires belief. Belief that the effort matters. Belief that you are capable of rising to the task. The Stoics trained themselves to detach from external validation. They understood that praise and criticism are distractions disguised as feedback. If you work for applause, your attention becomes hostage to opinion. If you work from principle, your attention becomes stable. This is why some people collapse under pressure. They are not focused on the work. They are focused on being seen doing the work. Real focus is private. It is silent. It does not announce itself. But there is another layer we must confront. Comfort is the breeding ground of distraction. When your life becomes too comfortable, urgency fades. When urgency fades, discipline weakens. When discipline weakens, distraction fills the vacuum. That is why growth requires voluntary discomfort. Cold mornings, early alarms, hard conversations, stretching beyond convenience. Not because suffering is noble, but because comfort dulls sharpness. You must train your mind to operate under slight tension, not stress that breaks you, but pressure that strengthens you. Athletes understand this. Muscles grow under resistance. The mind grows under restraint. If you allow yourself constant ease, your focus will decay. And here's something few people admit. You are addicted to novelty, new ideas, new plans, new strategies. You start projects with enthusiasm and abandon them when the excitement fades. That pattern is distraction disguised as ambition. Maturity is choosing depth over novelty. Finish what you start. Stay with the plan long enough to see results. Ignore the temptation of the new shiny thing, because distraction doesn't always look like laziness. Sometimes it looks like constant motion with no progress. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Comparison is one of the most toxic distractions of all. You open your phone to learn, and within minutes you are measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. Their success feels immediate, yours feels slow. Their life looks polished, yours feels messy, and suddenly your focus fractures. Comparison drains energy. It replaces action with envy. The Stoics warned against this centuries ago. They taught that peace comes from focusing on what is within your control. Someone else's timeline is not within your control. Your effort is. When you compare, you scatter your attention across lives you cannot live. When you focus, you concentrate your energy on the only life you can shape, your own. Let's go even deeper. Fear of missing out keeps you distracted. You fear that if you disconnect, you will lose opportunities. If you don't respond immediately, you'll fall behind. If you step away from the noise, you'll become irrelevant. But the truth is the opposite. When you are always available, you become ordinary. Scarcity increases value. When your time is limited, your presence becomes powerful. When your responses are deliberate instead of reactive, your words carry weight. Focus creates authority. Distraction creates familiarity. And familiarity rarely commands respect. Now imagine your attention as currency. Every moment spent scrolling is a small transaction. Individually insignificant, collectively devastating. Would you throw coins into the ocean every day and expect to become wealthy? Of course not. Yet that is what you do with time. And time compounds faster than money. Lost money can return, lost time cannot. But there is something even more unsettling. Distraction erodes confidence. When you repeatedly fail to follow through because you drift, you start distrusting yourself. You set intentions and break them, over and over. Eventually, your own promises mean nothing. Self-trust is built by alignment between intention and action. Focus strengthens self-trust. Self-trust strengthens identity. Identity strengthens discipline. It is a cycle, and you must choose which direction it spins. Let's talk about the evening. Most people sabotage tomorrow with how they spend tonight. Late night scrolling, random videos, endless consumption. You tell yourself you are relaxing, but relaxation without boundaries becomes erosion. Your mind needs recovery, not stimulation. If you want powerful mornings, you must design disciplined evenings. Set a shutdown ritual. Turn off screens an hour before sleep. Reflect on what you accomplished. Plan the next day clearly. Clarity at night produces focus in the morning. But there is a deeper, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. You may secretly enjoy being distracted because it keeps expectations low. If you never give your best, no one expects greatness from you. You remain safe in the middle, not criticized, not pressured, not responsible for extraordinary results, but also not fulfilled. At some point, you must decide whether you prefer comfort or capacity. Capacity is built in focused hours. Comfort is preserved in distracted ones. And the world will not force you to choose. It will happily let you drift. Which brings us to leadership. Even if you are not leading a company, you are leading yourself. And leadership begins with command over attention. If you cannot command your own mind, how can you command your future? When a general enters battle, he does not allow his troops to wander randomly. He concentrates force. Focus multiplies power. Scattered effort weakens it. The same is true for you. Concentrated hours outperform distracted days. 3 hours of undivided attention can outperform 10 hours of fragmented work. And once you experience that difference, you will never tolerate chaos again. But understand this: cutting distractions is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. Every morning, you choose who controls your attention. Every afternoon, you defend it. Every evening, you evaluate it. That is the rhythm of a disciplined life. And eventually, something shifts. You begin to notice details others miss. You think more clearly, you speak more deliberately, your work deepens, opportunities appear, not because you chase them, but because your focus made you competent enough to attract them. Competence is magnetic, and competence is built in silence. Now, I want you to imagine your life 5 years from now if nothing changes. Same habits, same distractions, same scattered hours. Where will you be? And now imagine 5 years of guarded attention, 5 years of protected mornings, 5 years of finishing what you start. The gap between those two futures is not talent, it is attention. But there is one final, more dangerous truth we haven't touched yet. Freedom is impossible without discipline. People think discipline is restrictive. In reality, it is liberating. When you control your attention, you control your direction. When you control your direction, you control your destiny. Distraction is slavery disguised as choice. Every notification feels optional. Every scroll feels voluntary, but the cumulative effect is dependency.